On this episode of ResiWeek, we talk women in consumer tech and 10 takeaways from Lightapalooza. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 373, Do More Together. Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories in the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week I'm pleased to be joined by three of my closest friends. First, we have my one and only sister, Heather Sidorowicz. She is the president of Southtown AV. How you doing, sis?
I am well. I have a quick question. Are we all always, every episode, your closest friends, or is it just when I'm on?
It's mostly when you're on.
Okay.
But
I want to make sure I was actually special.
Yeah, no, of course you are.
Okay.
And we want everyone to feel special.
I want to be the OG.
Hey, you're the sister. Like, what more do you need?
Okay, that's good. I didn't know if you were like throwing that out to everybody.
No, not at all. Then we have Amanda Wildman, not my sister, but close. Close. She's the co-owner of TruMedia Home up in Michigan. How you doing, Amanda?
I am doing great. Apparently not quite as great as your sister over there, Heather, but not all of us
and you
can
can
be family or would want to claim.
You'll get there.
Or would want to claim to be family with you, Matt.
Well, and that's why you're not. All right. Then and last but certainly not least, we have my good friend, Katye McGregor-Bennett. She's the president of KMB Communications. How you doing, Katye?
I'm doing great because I'm not family. So
exactly. John's family, though. John's like a brother to me.
He is your brother.
And he hates it. And I love that. It makes me so happy how much he hates it. Oh, if you don't understand at all what I'm talking about, just look for photos. And you'll find me smiling broadly beside him as he looks like I'm the plague.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
well,
not
maybe
creepy.
Because the photo before that is you kicking the Pelican case out from under him as he's trying to take a booth photo. I mean, this is a family, the sibling
was it
rivalry
kicking
stuff.
or was it tripping into it with one foot forward?
It's an accidentally dislodging the stable platform.
If those trade shows would do a better job of taping down the carpet, gentlemen like myself who have a fast walk would not trip over ripples and thus trip into people like John trying to take a photo. All right, let's get moving into this. Otherwise, I'll go on that for a while. This comes to us from Residential Tech Today. CEDIA and the Women in Consumer Technology are offering new opportunities to women in the smart home industry. Go read through this article. It's really good. They cover a couple of things that are going on. Specifically, beginning in August, CEDIA is going to hold some CIT study groups to help some women get into that and get those certifications, as well as a couple other really, really good things to bring obviously CEDIA and women in consumer tech together to, again, continue to grow the population of women in the industry, and honestly, just the awareness of women in the industry. Heather, let me start with you on this, because you and I were both on the board with CEDIA for a minute way back when they liked both of, well, at least when they liked me. They always like you, but when they still liked me. These were some of the things that we did a lot of work on, trying to continue to grow the exposure of the industry. What do we have to do to try and get that exposure growing beyond the channel to bring people in? This is great. We're doing a lot of things for women that are currently in the industry, but how do we continue to do that outreach aspect?
Well, first of all, cheers to those who have put this together. I'm going to guess Amanda had a really strong role in this. That this is not just women who are in the industry already, but specifically on the install side, in teaching that, because we don't have a lot of women in the industry. We have even less who are installing. I feel like Amanda's our poster child for this. She's taken people out. She's offered to anybody out that listens, give Amanda a call. She'll bring you out into the wild and show you all the things that are late and great. My sister worked for the company for 5 years. She was an early AV installer as well, and she went on to bigger and better things, and she's just kicking butt just in the pro AV side now. So what can we do? We can keep hiring women. It's not really nearly as complicated as everybody makes it out to be. I honestly think that the best way to do it is when you find someone or see someone, and they could be in a different industry, let them know that there is a place for them here. Invite them, talk to them, bring them out for lunch, break bread with them, and then hire them. And that is really the easiest and simplest way to bring more women into the industry.
I love it. Amanda, obviously you had a lot to do with this. Tell us a little bit more about how it came to be, and to Heather's point, how do we continue to grow that?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it's bringing together really Carol Campbell and Mandy Beckner at CEDIA, the head of education, and kind of having an idea. I mean, I sit on certifications, and so I said, it's been important for me to be have those letters behind my name so that when I walk into a room, I feel like I have that legitimacy or that level of knowledge that people can't really argue with. So I said, wouldn't it be great to kind of offer an opportunity for women to have maybe a study group where it could be women there. They could ask the questions, because I know like sometimes it can be difficult or intimidating to ask a question in the room if you're the only female in the room or whatever. So having a study group set up for that is a great opportunity to get more women involved. And then also part of this whole announcement is there's a webinar series going on that Women in Consumer Technology is actually sponsoring with a throwback to my former years. The speaker, and I'm totally not remembering her name right now, but she actually came from Dish Network, and she's talking about how to grow your business and to be an ally or make it a welcoming environment for women to join. So you don't just have to be a female to go on those webinars for that webinar series. Anyone can join those, and they can learn, how do I make my work environment more productive to have women to be able to be there, have them be comfortable, allow them to grow into their knowledge and grow into their being in this industry. And Heather's right. I mean, you just have to hire us. We're not as intimidating as what you might think. Just bring us on, and we're usually really, really hard workers. I mean, I don't know if you've seen women coming back into the workforce, even too, like ones that were maybe stay-at-home moms. They're really great multitaskers. They can be really phenomenal in your business, and they understand efficiency at a totally different level. So hopefully these are opportunities for women to not only get certified, but for people to learn how to be allies and support getting more women in.
I love it. Katie, let me ask you, maybe not the tough question, but the interesting question. And I don't disagree with either of you that it is very simple to go out and just hire a woman. We keep hearing that the talent shortage of literally bodies, not trained, not certified, literally people with a pulse who will show up to work, is incredibly challenging. And I will attest, at least for my company, it really stinking is. So I'm not debating or trying to poke holes in the argument that just go hire a woman and that will start that process. But it's really hard to hire anyone these days. What do we do to combat that aspect while also continuing to encourage women to get into the industry? You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. Wow, thanks. This is why you have me come on this show.
Do you want me to answer this one?
Sure. Yeah. What do we do? Okay, well, here, I've got all the answers. Hold on, you ready? Here we go.
Yep.
Get your pens. No, I mean, there is.
Give it to me.
There is. Yeah.
If you're just listening, I held up a pad to write it down.
All right, so Matt, that's a challenge. We've talked about this a number of times on already this year, and I don't think anybody has a single answer to it, because I don't know where everybody went. I thought the aliens took them for quite some time, and that they just magically were going to return them one day. I'm starting to think that that's not going to happen anymore, and that we actually are going to have to find these people from within our
It was
current
the marble
society.
blip. Thanos snapped his fingers, and that's where they all went.
See, this is what when you come on ResiWeek, you get the answers to stuff and things like that. But I think it's, Heather touched on a really good point, and I think that part of it comes from within, which is, we have to be the communicators of how amazing our industry is and how great it is to be part of it, and that it's evolving and it's growing, and that there is a lot of opportunity here. If we're not shouting that from the rooftops as individuals within the industry and as a part of the community, then it's kind of like, shame on us. Now, it's not our fault. That is not what I'm saying, but we have to be more communicative of all of the benefits and the advantages, because every other industry is out there doing that. And so it's sort of like, as an individual, as a part of this community, each of us are ambassadors to finding that next generation and helping to encourage them to come into our domain and come over to our general direction. We have so much fun in this industry, and it is such a small but big world that is so few really know what we do and the interesting nuances of everything that we do. So I think, like Amanda's out there in the schools, CEDIA's out there in the schools, a lot of integrators are out at schools and really, sort of talking the talk and showing that there is a pathway in. And I think we just, generally speaking, we need to do more of that. I'm not saying anything that hasn't already been talked about. I just think we need more boots on the ground. And we need social media to be reaching. We need to be using social media to reach through to this audience more than we are right now. We're just scratching the surfaces as business owners of using social media to promote what we do, to ultimately find a buyer for the things that we sell. But if we put an equal energy and effort into communicating that there are opportunities here and that we're looking for talent, I think that would start to move the meter too. There's no single answer, and that's kind of the thing. It's just, we have to, as individuals and as companies, we have to be shouting from the rooftops, and we have to meet the people where they are. And so this is, I keep kind of coming back to social media. That's where we're going to find our next generation, because that's where they're talking.
I'll jump in with some tangibility to that. What Katie's saying, what Amanda said too, is think outside the box and post not just on Indeed, but throw those posts on Facebook that you're looking for someone.
Yeah.
Ask a friend. I have 2 females that work with me, and both of them, I invited them to be part of our story. And both of them, it was a phone call that I made to say, like, hey, I think you have something here. Why don't you come over and see what we have? And both of them, when hired, were both not necessarily 100% back into the workforce after they had kids. So like Amanda touched upon, you can, if you stop thinking about this 40-hour work week, but start thinking about, hey, we have the ability to add some work from home features or some flexibility that others aren't thinking of. There's something to be said for that. So kind of thinking outside your normal 9 to 5, I'm just going to post a job posting is, I think, a tangibility of how to get there.
And sometimes it's just the flexibility. I mean, if they're a mom or a parent, they need to get their kids dropped off at school, and they need to maybe get them picked up, or they need to check in with them. So like, I mean, all of our techs right now are on 4 10-hour work days, as opposed to, they're still doing their 40-hour a week. That way they've got the 1 day for doctor appointments. I have one of my women that works for me, and she's 5 days a week, but she comes in right after she drops her kids off at school. And then she's done when the kids get home from school. And then she does a little bit of work from home during that other time. So, I mean, having that flexibility, and I will tell you, if you find somebody and you're willing to be flexible and they need that in a job, the efficiency, especially of like I said, the efficiency of women who can multitask is pretty amazing. So, I mean, if you give them the opportunity, they're going to blow your minds, I think.
Yeah. Our office administrator, she's part-time, but same thing. She does a ton from home, and it's fantastic. And I
bet you she does just as much as a full-time employee could do.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No, she's phenomenal. But it's also to your point of looking in unexpected areas. One of the best employees that we hired a couple of years ago, he was the kid of one of our clients, and he just had a great attitude and was just, he never showed a ton of interest, but he was always just kind of hanging around. And at one point it was like, are you interested in this? Not really. I'm like, are you sure? Because you're here all the time. He's like, yeah, maybe, I guess. I'm like, why don't you come hang out for a couple days and we'll see how it goes. And then he was great with us for the time he was with us. It was fantastic. But I never would have thought of fishing that well, if you will. All right, let's change topics for a second. This comes to us from Connected Design in their new spring 2023 issue. Amanda Wildman's top 10 list from Lightapalooza. All right, Amanda, you list 10 things, and of these 10, I can get behind at least 6. No.
At least 6? Only 6?
That's a really good score for me.
No, yeah, that is a really good score. Yeah,
Like, that's hitting it out of the
Agree with the
park.
bell curve. I mean, that's like getting 100.
Pretty much. And I was being nice. It's really 4. No. I'm kidding. Amanda, you went to this show and obviously wrote about it with your top 10 things. We covered initially a little bit of the show maybe 2 weeks ago, but I wanted to touch on it because you wrote this great article about it. Give us, don't go through the top 10 hits, but give us your broad takeaways. They've been doing Lightapalooza for a couple of years now, but it keeps growing in prominence, and lighting continues to become a bigger and bigger aspect for a lot of integrators from a fixture standpoint. What was your big overarching takeaway? So we don't have to touch on the 4 things in your top 10 that I did not like at all.
Well, one, I think the biggest thing, and Katie was there as well, but I think the biggest thing was excitement, right? Is for excitement for our channel and for our industry of people that either were doing it and having success. Like I would say that it's a big factor in my company's success right now. And over COVID, we definitely grew a lot in that area. So exciting from that. And then I think for other integrators to see the possibilities of being able to do something that generally does not require a service call afterwards. And I think that that's like one of the, we were talking about it earlier, right? We were talking about control systems. And sometimes I think there is a burnout of our industry of always having to go back and do the service call or do the update or do the upgrade. Fixtures, for the most part, I mean, once you put them in and once you get them programmed, you're kind of set. It's a little bit hands off. You're not going back for service calls all of the time. So it is a really great way to kind of diversify your team and to diversify your offerings, to be able to kind of go out there, get something done and kind of be done with it. They had some really, really great lighting designers too. And I think that we've seen there's opportunity there to be able to make money. And I think we're also kind of struggling or frustrated with having to deal with maybe designers don't fully understand the capabilities of what our lighting control systems can do. I don't know how many integrators are out there, and the designer bought a fixture that's a non-dimmable fixture and we go to put it on our system, and then there's a flicker, or we got to deal, with the electrician. And there's so many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to that, where if we're going to control it and we're going to run it, if we might as well be helping to spec it or, design it at least for, the low voltage type fixtures. It's just going to streamline that process, make the client a lot happier.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Katie, I want you to come at this a little bit from the design side, because you do a lot of work with some of the designers in our channel, et cetera. One of the things that has always concerned me a little bit when I put on my press hat, if you will, is jumping into a heavily design focused vertical can be a challenge for a lot of companies who politely are not as design focused as one might like, which is my really polite take on that. And DM me later and I'll give you my real take on it. How do you go about getting not only integrators to buy into the design side of this, but to learn the design side of it properly?
So I think learning the nuances of every category that you're going to be installing or being an integrator for is kind of critical, period. So, I think it just kind of goes along with participating in the category. But there's, as Lightapalooza showed, there is such a wealth of knowledge, and there are a lot of resources out there that are making it a lot easier. And there's a lot of different pathways that we can do this. And so, I think in custom installation, it's always been really easy to think, we can do that in-house. We can do that in-house. We can do that ourselves. We're constantly recreating the same thing because we're just so good at doing that. The lighting category is a category that we don't, as a community, need to be the experts in the room to start with. So we don't need to set the bar so high for ourselves that it's like, unless we can go in and be all things in the lighting category, we shouldn't be in it at all. No. There are so many different steps for an integrator and a technician to be successful in the category that doesn't require 100% all in. And I think that that's one of the things that I think is so exciting, is that within our industry now, we're starting to see third-party resources coming in that are providing the design aspect, the planning aspect, the cost budgeting analysis aspects, those things that really require a lot of time in the saddle to understand and to do well. We can plug those services in. And when we do that with the right resources that know how to partner with a custom installer and integration firm, what the end user can get is really, really, really quite exceptional. So coming back to your original question, and I think where the concern comes in is, as an integrator, you may or may not feel confident selecting fixtures, and designer fixtures especially. Cool. You don't have to be that guy. You don't have to be that gal. If you're not comfortable in that space, that's the end of your offering. Partner with a lighting designer, partner with, go and find another third party that has the same values as you do and will provide the same level of service, but provides more than you do, and partner up and go forth and conquer and do more business together. That's been really hard for our industry and our community to kind of wrap our arms around, of partnering up and going and doing more, better business together, and not just trying to figure out how to do it ourselves. Jump in the ring now, get a good partner so that you can take advantage of all of the money that is being made out there in this category right now. Consumers are being faced with improved lighting left and right. Now's an opportunity to go and make those consumers who are starting to be influenced by mainstream brands and pull them into your web and get them into your brands, your offering, your type of an experience. And I think that's the big opportunity, is just that there's a new category that's emerging, and there are resources that are already there that want to help our industry do a better job and not push us out of the way, and find those right partners. And I think it's all upside potential. That's, for me, is what Lightapalooza showed, is just that there are many, many different resources. So one size does not fit all, and you don't have to worry about that, because there are also, there are individuals, there's groups, there's just a lot more depth of knowledge that is being offered into the channel than I think we had a greater awareness of.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Heather, wrap this one up for us. How do you go about fully integrating this into a working company? Is the best method what Katye said, as far as just, for lack of a better term, partnering or outsourcing with somebody from the design side? If that's not something you want to do, is this something that you can truly dip your toe into and grab a line or two lines and cover enough bases to get by? Or is this something that you really have to fully dedicate to?
Well, I have a question before I can answer the question.
Okay.
So as someone who does more on the commercial side than the residential side these days, I remember going to classes years ago and going to lighting classes and understood the importance that light just plays in our entire world. At that time, I remember raising my hand and saying, great, okay, so a customer comes down to their kitchen at 7:00 in the morning. What is the standard? What should the lights be at? And the answer was pretty much, I don't know. Have we seen more standards come and are available to the AV integrator since then?
Yes and no. There are some companies and some manufacturers and some buying groups and some orgs that have put together some standards and some documentation. The gold standard, that's terrible, of this is the American Lighting Association. And they have a full slate of courses, and some of the manufacturers and some of the buying groups and other associations have leaned on that in various degrees of leaning to pull some of that information.
Right. So the answer is standards, having that, and then training being the second piece of it. And the third piece of that can you dip your toe into it? I think the answer is no. I think you have to know your magic powers, and you have to play within it. And I think that as a company, you have to decide where you're going to be great at. What am I going to be exceptional at? And partner either with another AV company, with a lighting designer, just like you all said, and know when you can say, hey, this is not what our special sauce, but here's something that does it, or here's someone we partner with. We do that all the time on the commercial side. We don't do office furniture, but we work with this company all the time, and we work with them to make sure that you get the best system. Those things should, as commercial often trickles down to residential as well, that should be the same approach. You should not try to do if it's, hey, we can put a TV up and we do great with Sonos, but once it gets into super smart home, then that's not us. Understand that, and there's nothing wrong with that answer.
Yeah, that's a really good point. All right, let's wrap it up there. Katye, if people want to connect with you, learn more about K&B Communications, where can they do that?
Yeah, all over the sphere. Just look for K&B Communications. We're the one with the mountain and in our logo. Or you can look for me, Katye McGregor-Bennett, all over the sphere as well.
You should put some snow into that logo these days.
Yeah, it's covered in snow.
There's a mountain there.
It doesn't even look like
promise.
mountains anymore, Katie.
That's
It's
just white.
It's just white.
flat,
white.
filled in, straight
blobs.
across.
Oh, Amanda, if people want to connect with you, learn more about TruMedia Home, where can they do that?
Anywhere on the internet, on the websites, whatever, socials, TruMediaHome.com, or just my name, Amanda Wildman. So
Excellent. Thank you. All right, sis, if people want to connect with you, learn more about Southtown AV or anything else you're doing, where can they do that?
I've been playing a lot lately on LinkedIn. So just my name or Southtown Audio Video over on LinkedIn, but of course I'm on all the socials as well.
Excellent. Thanks again for joining us. If you'd like to find me, you can find me at Matt D. Scott on Twitter and most other social platforms other than TikTok. Nice try, Amanda. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.